Hey, it's been a while, but I'm back with some goods. This time I wanted to make a video that goes a bit more in detail into the challenges that I've faced recently, and what I've managed to get done. Start with the telephone, which was surprisingly complex for me. Made the model first, and the number pad after, and I think it looks cute. The logic side of things, it was my first time correctly implementing coroutines, and that might sound simple for an experienced coder, but there were many attempts and bugs throughout the process of finally making this work. Telephone handset would fly off in the distance or, travel from and to the player at a ridiculously fast speed. And yes, for anyone wondering, I did successfully crash Unity by having infinite while loop in one of my coroutines. For now, the telephone handset is picked up when interacted with, and follows the player until they interact with the phone again or they get out of range. Up next will be programming the number buttons and making a system so it's possible to call with the telephone. The hammer was just an example tool I needed to make use for the use system that I'll talk about later. This was my first time actually using Blender, and I'm pretty proud of the result. I made a few versions of the texture, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna stick with it till the end, but we'll see. Inventory system. I ended up doing a pretty massive overhaul of what I'd previously done to fit with the game's vision, and to have the mechanics that I want. I even took the time to design the UI, and even though it's most likely not final, I'm still happy with what it looks like. It's meant to resemble the interior of a jacket, but with the pockets and so on. I think it'll be more clear with the final version though. When it comes to the actions, the drop system was the most simple. You get a reference to the prefab from the scriptable object of the item, and then instantiate it at the given point. That point itself is the child of a camera, and it always remains in sight. That way there's always visual feedback to dropping the item. A safeguard method is put in place to ensure that objects don't spawn inside a wall only to fall out of the stage. This is done by casting a ray from inside the player to the point, returning any collision point in world space, and then applying a small offset back towards the player. All that's left to make this safety perfect is to change the value of said offset to reflect the radius of the object being instantiated, and that's what I'll work on next. The use system was a bit more demanding. So when the use action is initiated, the player inventory script checks for the use style assigned to the item selected. Then, the box cast checks for any collisions with objects that have the IUseTargetable interface, and after that checks that the object used corresponds to that target. If it returns true, the object is instantiated, and its use function is called from the IUseable interface, and the object script does the work from there. I wanted to go for a classic Resident Evil use item style, but I didn't want to restrict the player's movement like that system does. I'm not 100% sure if this turned out the way I wanted it, but I'll keep going with it for now. The combine system got caught in a few bugs, but turned out fine in the end. When a first item is selected and the combine action is clicked, a message will be displayed, and the player inventory script will then listen for the next item that's clicked. It then passes both of the items to the inventory's scriptable object, which compares the two items to a database list of possible combinations. If one is found, the resulting item of the combination is returned, and voila! Last thing I'll log in here is an interesting issue I run into when it comes to lights and how they're used with the level design tool that I use, called Real-Time CSG. The tool is incredibly useful, very fast, but it does come at the drawbacks of having little bugs like this. So this light is clearly not supposed to manifest in this manner, but at least there's an easy fix for me, just using a shadows only mesh to cover up where the walls are supposed to happen. Here's another example, the oven. If it weren't for this light leak stopper right here, the light above the oven would leak into the oven, and it kind of ruins it. Well, I think that'll be it for me. It's unfortunate that most of the programming work that has been put in hasn't produced any visual results, but I hope you've liked what you've seen. Either way, I didn't always get to work at my maximum capacity, but I'm proud of everything that I've done yet, and definitely plan on working more in the upcoming weeks. I'll sign off for now, keep working on my game, and I'll catch you all next time. Cheers.